Good morning. Thank you for tuning into today's class. It's a Hatha 1 class, and it'll be based in strengthening the shoulder and mobilizing the shoulder. I'll be doing some things as well to help stretch out the front of the leg, the quads. It'll help you sit as I'm sitting. We're not going to start in this position, but this is a position that will most certainly help you with back bending. Tucking my toes, I'm sitting back on my heels. Any position that gives you trouble and you see that there's benefits, I would practice it more frequently. That's something that I would do. It's something that I practice daily, and I do cycle the things that I use so that I'm getting a wide variety. Diversity is really the key in keeping yourself healthy and well in terms of practice. So you'll need a couple blocks in helping to open up the chest and the shoulder and to help strengthen the shoulder. Today's class is the last Wednesday class. If you like the class, you can continue to take this base level class on Saturdays, and that's from 9 to 10. I'm going to be making more specific videos in the realm of helping your shoulders, helping your back. They'll be shorter videos and they'll be on my YouTube channel, so if you're a subscriber, you'll get those videos. If you can share them, that really helps support me and my cause in helping more and more people with their yoga and helping them during this time of stress with the pandemic. To register for my Zoom classes, I have a Zoom class tonight that's 6:30 to 7:30, and that's it's a restorative class, and that's a great way to help you in learning more, because I can help you more specifically. I can cue you more specifically. So that my website's jonwittyoga.com. All my classes are donation based. If you can't donate, again, please help me by sharing my my yoga with people. It helps me. To Venmo me, it's Jon Witt Yoga, and then to PayPal me, it's also the same as Jon Witt. So what we're going to do is start on our hands and knees. So you'll come into an all four position, and in having your hands underneath your shoulders, your knees are underneath your hips, just move the weight around side to side. Grip the floor with your fingertips, grip the floor with your knuckles. I say this often, when you're on all fours, you're getting stronger through the front of your body. So if you're a person that can't do planks, whether it be hand planks or forearm planks, we could be on the hands, we could be on fists. So if I turn my hands out at a 45-degree angle, it's less stress on the wrist. If I turn my hands out all the way to the sides, it's actually like having the hands forward, but for the moment I'm bringing the weight into one hand and then I'm transferring it over into the other, and that'll help stretch the wrist, the shoulders. You have tight shoulders, just this subtle motion will help it'll help get them to move more. So come back into the middle, turn the hands forward, and if you can, turn the hands to face in, and if you could, turn the hands in a little bit more, and I'm going to do a circular motion around my hands. So in moving my shoulders around my hands, it's stretching out the forearms. Really, really great for the upper back. So rotating the arms in and rotating them out will help in exposing the thoracic spine and the cervical. I'm going to circle around the opposite direction if I haven't changed directions. Uncomfortable is definitely part of the process, but if it's like, this is, just limit the time. Maybe don't do as many repetitions or volume. So come back into the middle and have the hands just underneath the shoulders and push through the hands around the spine into a cat stretch. Look forward, look up. You can back bend. You can exhale, you can round your back. Back bend again, lift the chin, lift the chest, and then exhale, round the spine. So just take the hands over to the left side, look over the left shoulder. And let's say your chin is lower than your shoulder, it's fine, but just bring the head a little lower. It doesn't have to be all the way down, but just a little lower, and then you'll see that the neck will relax and that you'll be able to lift the head a little bit more. So we're going to take the hands over to the right side, and then you can look high over the right shoulder. So lift the head, lift the chest. Again, the chin could be, it probably might be lower than the shoulder, but as you bring it down a little lower and it relaxes, you'll be able to lift the head up a little bit more. And then come back into the middle and have the hands just underneath the shoulders. Now push through the hands, round through the back, keep that, and make the stance longer, come up into plank. So lift the knees up off the floor, reach back with the heels, move the weight around a little bit if you can, just to kind of see how you hold your weight. Get your legs involved, get your abdomen involved. Your breathing, of course, is a big part of this. And then push back up into a down dog. And as you push back up into a down dog, if you've never had your feet wide apart, have your feet, wider than the standard stance, and turn the heels out. And think of bringing more and more weight into the heels of the feet. And push really, really strong through the hands so that you're exposing more and more of the upper back, right? So come back into a plank again, just for a couple of breaths. So push through the hands. The more you're on your hands, right, it's really good for bone density. Obviously good to strengthen the abdomen. And I almost prefer this type of work as opposed to doing like core work on your back. Not that that's a bad thing, it can get a little boring. You can go back up into a down dog. As you pull back up into a down dog, you're pulling the hips back. Think I'm pulling your arms forward. Or come forward into a plank, and then come down onto the knees and set it up so that you're on your elbows, your forearms. So lift the knees up off the floor, reach back through the heels, make the front of your body smaller. Take 3 breaths here. So I'm pushing through the center of the forearms, and you really want to feel that the shoulders are supporting you. So if you find that it's easy, you're not engaging. Not that you want to make it hard, right? But you want to engage in supporting your body and getting stronger. So lower the knees, lower the thighs, and lift up into a Sphinx pose. So in Sphinx, look high over the left shoulder. Take a couple deep breaths. Then look over the right shoulder. Try to keep the left shoulder back. And then bring your head back to center in the neutral, and then come down all the way. And what you'll do is you'll bring your arms down beside you and lift your chest, lift your feet up off the floor. Your hands could be down. My arms are up. And as I'm lifting my arms, it's to help strengthen my upper back, my shoulders. Basic position, not incredibly popular anymore, but very good in getting the back to support you better. Bring yourself all the way down. Take the arms into a cactus position. Lift the arms up into a W position so the arms are lifting. And make your hands into fists. And just think that I'm pulling the arms in opposition. So if I were to pull your arms to the sides, you'd have more space in the front of your shoulders. And then bring the arms down. Have the hands underneath the shoulders. Come up into a low cobra. Just really, really low. You find that your lower back is too much, right? It might not be the height of the pose. Could also be that you're not engaging through the glutes or through the abdomen. Bring yourself down, and when you come down, try to get longer. And then inhale, bring yourself up, peel yourself off the floor. Again, if you want to come up higher, you can certainly come up higher. So when I come up, if I'm up, I'm getting my legs to be more involved. And then that's helping to stretch out more and more of the upper body. So bring yourself forward, bring yourself down, and then take the arms out into a T position so the arms are straight out to the sides. And what you're going to do is step your right leg over your left, right? But when the right arm is down, it's a little different than this position. So it's a little bit more spread through the back, right? Roll onto your abdomen. Step your left leg over your right. So you're leaning into the right side. It doesn't have to be all of your weight. Like I said, when the arms are wide, it's a little bit more like Warrior Two. Roll back into the left. We're just going to do this one more time. You can reach your right foot for your left foot. Doesn't have to be. Some people grab the foot, right? So you can roll back onto the belly, roll back onto your hips, and then step your left leg over your right leg. So your left foot is stepping toward your right foot. Take a couple deep breaths. Good stretch for the upper back. And then roll back onto your abdomen. And then when you roll back onto your abdomen, have the hands underneath the shoulders just to keep you warm. I'm going to come back onto the floor. So if you can't come up and down, just come up and stay in Sphinx pose. So if you don't want to do something in between on your hands, just stay here, right? Come down onto the hands, tuck the toes, lift straight up into a plank, and go back up into a down dog. So I'm going to do some back bends in between. You can swing forward and through into an up dog, grip the floor, lift the chest. Exhale, pull back up into a down dog. One more time, come forward, come through, moving through your arms, elevating your upper body, and then pulling back with the hips. We're going to come forward into a plank, and in a plank, just come down on the knees, and again, engage in the shoulders. Really key in coming down, whether you're on your knees or not, right? So lift the knees up off the floor and resist the floor as you come down. And then when you come down, we're going to come back up onto the elbows. So pull yourself forward. Take your feet over your knees if you can. And then when you're bringing the legs, not that you have to bring them as close as I am, but you could bring them in to the bum, but just kind of see and feel what's stopping you. It's good to know that. Bring the legs down, and then what we're going to do is roll onto your left side. We're going to try to grab the ankle. So I'm going to roll onto my left side. My left arm is overhead, and then I'm going to reach back and grab hold of the foot. So in the beginning I had said, being able to sit on your feet, it's a good thing to work on. It's a good thing to develop. But let's say I can't grab the foot. So I could release it. I could just try to touch it, right? And then bring it back. And then I could bring it back. And then, this is a passive stretch, which you may need more. And there's a variety of ways that you can achieve, better flexibility to the front body. And then release the foot and then roll onto your right side. As you roll onto your right, bend your left knee, and then as you reach the left foot back, maybe just touching it, right? So if I just touch it, I'm going to bring it back to a straight line. I'm going to bend it again. Maybe I can grab the foot. Again, if I couldn't grab the ankle, I would be working getting the quad, and it's more like the hamstring, right? The hamstring is engaging to pull the leg back. Partially it's the front of your leg that helps bend the knee. So I'm pulling with my hand if I need more leverage. I'm not pulling on the ankle if I don't have that flexibility just yet. So roll back onto your belly, come back up onto the elbows, and then take the feet over the knees again. So look over the left shoulder, get yourself to lift up more. Look over the right, see the feet. Look center, and then bring your feet down. Now, stay in cobra, right? That's a good back bend for you. But squeeze the feet together if you can. Squeeze the legs together, right? You should feel more weight and a greater stretch specifically into the abdomen, right? Lower yourself down, have the hands underneath the shoulders, curl up into a low cobra, curl up into something higher, right? As you're up, think that I'm pushing the tailbone down more for you. And you're trying to lift through this, the pubic bone. As you lift up, right, there's going to be less pressure within the lower back, right? You want to be lifting through the collarbone. You could be taking the head up more. Bring yourself forward, bring yourself down. Have the hands underneath the shoulders. Tuck the toes and lift straight up into a plank and go back up into a down dog. Pull back through the thighs. Have the feet as wide as you need to. Press through the hands. Rotate the shoulders out and swing forward and through into an up dog. Come forward, come through. And exhale, go back up into a down dog. Now come down onto your knees, and with the blocks that you have, I'm going to have them a little bit higher so that I can assimilate more of a 90-degree angle. This is a little bit lower. I'm actually going to do it where I'm using all of the height of my blocks. So my blocks, they're one on top of the other. So when my blocks are on one top of the other, then I'm going to expose my shoulders into more of like an L type of position. So I'm going to have my hands on top of the blocks. I'm going to walk my knees back. And then as I walk my knees back, I'm in this overhead position. Now just see how my ribs are dropping down. This is not incorrect, but just for the initial stages, the few beginning breaths that you're taking, try to keep your ribs in. And with your ribs being in,
you'll get a little bit more specific in exposing the shoulders and your back. So great to use a countertop or any piece of furniture. And if you couldn't be on your knees, that's why I'm mentioning that. So if you're in a standing position, great with a railing, a park bench, but you want to keep the belly and the ribs in, and then just let it relax down, right? And then bring it back up. We're just going to do that one more time. So keep pushing the hands into the blocks, but pulling the ribs in, and then just let it go, and then expose through the chest, the shoulders. Hold tight to the blocks, right, to expose more of the shoulders for yourself. And then come back up and bring the hands down. And I'm going to use the blocks for a down dog. And if you don't have blocks, right, it's okay on the hands. I'm actually going to be on the second level. If you're unstable, right, be on the lowest level. So lift up into a plank, push to the hands. And the good thing about blocks is you can build up some good strength in the hands by squeezing them. So when it's at this level, this is a great way to really strengthen the hands. When they're low, your hands might not be big enough to wrap your hands around the block. So this is a really good kind of way of strengthening the hands, the wrist. Go back up into a down dog and then pull back through the thighs. Now my hands are you can see that I move my hands more to the edges of the blocks. I like that so that my hands don't slip. I'm pushing my hips back. I'm exposing more and more of my shoulders, and I can stay here. If I bend my knees, more exposure into my back. I'm going to swing forward and through into an up dog, and then go back up into a down dog. Just go all the way back up into a down dog, and then come forward onto your hands and your knees, and then come down onto your knees. Bring the blocks with you and have the toes tucked, and sit back on the feet. Now, if you couldn't sit like this, sit another way, sit on blocks, right? Find different ways that work. But over time, you'll be able to sit back on the toes like I am. Just take the arms back into a cactus position. I'm not going to do this, but you could hold this for a minute, 2 minutes throughout the day. Very, very good for the shoulders. So when my arms are like this, after a while, you'll feel the weak shoulder really start to engage, and you'll see how to pull back in space. So I'm going to untuck the toes. I can use my blocks, right? I'm going to sit back on my feet, and then as I sit back on my feet, what I'm going to do is have my hands either in the blocks on the lowest level. If you have good flexibility in the quads, just move it back a little bit so that you're exposing more of the front of your body. Really simple thing, but great to do on a bed. So if this is really too hard for you, too difficult for you, you put a pillow in between your butt and your heels, and do it on your mattress. Do it on, if it's afflicting the front of your knee, right? So come back up, and then when you come back up, use the blocks, and then lift up off the heels just for a moment to sit up, and then tuck the toes, sit back on the heels, and lift the knees off the floor. So lower them down if you can, and then lift them back up. So it's good pressure in the feet. I know some people can't do that. It's good to have things to work up to. Lower the knees one more time, and then bring them back up. So you could use the blocks or not. I'm going to move them forward just in case I need them when I'm at the top of my mat. I'm going to take my hands forward. I'm going to step back into a down dog. So pull back through the hips, push through the hands, swing forward and through into an up dog, and then pull back up into a down dog. And you should see a difference in your back bending from releasing your quadriceps. Bend the knees, walk the feet forward to the middle of the mat, walk the hands back towards the feet. You're in a forward fold. As I'm folding, I'm going to take my hands to the left side, pulling the belly in, pulling the ribs in, just like your plank, and then taking your hands to the right side, and then again, I'm making myself smaller, stronger, exposing my hips, exposing my back, taking the hands back into the middle. Now I'm going to roll up and down a couple times. So roll yourself up, take your arms up overhead, exhale, take the arms down, bring the chin into the chest, roll yourself forward and down, Take the hands forward, top of the mat. Bring the knees into the abdomen, into the ribs. Stay any of these positions, you can stay longer, right? Walk the hands back to the feet and slowly roll yourself up. As you roll up, take the arms overhead, be in a thumb lock. Drop through the tailbone, lift through the pubic bone. If you're more of an anterior pelvis person, lift up on the toes, lift the heels. I say that because, not to generalize, but a lot of women have more of an anterior pelvic tilt. So lift up onto the toes, lower the heels, exhale, lower the arms. You're in a standing position. So take the left leg up into the chest, so the left leg comes up. As you pull the left leg up, try to bring the knee into the chest. Take it out to the left, a little bit, halfway, all the way out. Use a wall, of course. Try to lift the knee closer to the left shoulder. Get yourself nice and upright. Bring it forward, and then pull the knee into the chest. And then bring it down, and then take the right leg up. So the right leg comes up. Now you could hold with your right hand. Lift the leg up into the chest, use some effort. Like a pose like this, unless you had some inflammation in the hips, you can use quite a bit of effort here. I'm going to take it out to the side just a little bit, or take it out all the way. And I've mentioned this before, if you've taken the class before, one side will be more difficult. So you may actually need more assistance in some way. Like you might need more work on it, right? So you're lifting the right leg towards the right shoulder, bring the knee forward, bring it down, and then bring your feet together. Just bring your feet together like you have one big foot, and then step the left foot in front of the right foot, and you're in an upright position. I'm doing it with my eyes closed, so you have good balance. You could do it this way as well. Bring the left foot next to the right, step the right foot in front of the left. It's okay if the feet are crooked. Over time, try to get the feet more straight. Again, the eyes could be opened or closed. So if I was just learning to do it with my eyes closed, like say it's still a bit scary, justifiable, what I would do is I'd have my hand close to a wall that I could use a wall anytime I needed it. And then I wouldn't use the wall when I didn't need it. You can open the eyes and bring the right foot next to the left. Now, take your left foot back and try to grab your left ankle again. It's easy, grab on with both hands. So I'm holding with my right hand, I'm holding with my left. I'm trying to stand up more upright. And let's say you've been doing yoga for a while, use a mirror. Get in front of a mirror, or get someone to take some photos of yourself and really see, because you could be doing yoga for a long, long time and not really see yourself, and then, you can make it better this way. Bring the left foot down, take the right foot up. Because we're all doing virtual stuff, it's really good to check in, because what feels normal, like no one wants to slouch, no one wants to walk with a limp, but if you really examine yourself or observe yourself, you can be like, oh yeah, I do this when I walk, or I do this when I run, or I do this when I stand or when I sit, to just give you a better perspective as far as how you can correct those things. And then bring the right foot down. So the right foot is down. Now step to the top of the mat, take the arms overhead, exhale, fold forward into a forward fold, and then just step the left foot back into a lunge. So the left foot is back and the right foot is forward. Now I'm going to take my right arm up to the ceiling, twist to the right, just a couple breaths. I'm going to bring the right hand down, and as I get more flexible, a good way to get more flexible in the shoulders and in your twist is to get the right elbow to be lower. Now, you could do this multiple times, right? I'm going to take the right arm up to the ceiling so that I'm twisting. And just when your arm's up in space, just see how it moves just in any direction, and you can kind of see where you're limited. Bring the right hand down, and then step the left foot all the way forward. Step your right foot back into a lunge, so the right foot is back, and then take the left arm up to the ceiling. So the left arm is high and the right hand is low. Think I'm pulling your hips back towards your right foot. As you're turning your upper body towards your left hand, stay here, right? Or bring the left hand down, or take the elbow to a block, or bring the elbow to the floor.
You know, and it's not so important that you get there in a matter of seconds, right? Might take you minutes, might take you years, but over time you could certainly get lower. Take the left arm up to the ceiling. The longer the legs are, the more difficult it is to get lower in these positions. Bring the left hand down and then step the right foot forward, and with the right foot forward, you're in a forward fold. Now I'm going to step the left foot back into a long runner's lunge. So the left foot is back, and then I'm going to come up into a high lunge. And when I come up into a high lunge, my heel's elevated. I'm using my legs to support me. My arms are overhead. I could be in a V or a Y type of position. Take a couple deep breaths. I'm going to straighten through the right leg and actually make the stance longer if I can. So longer, so technically I'm out of alignment, right? I'm going out of alignment, but this is going to add more leverage into the back hip. And that could be something that's stopping you from developing warrior one or developing a lunge or developing a camel, right? Come back up into an overhead position and bend the knee. And then again, with a longer stance, you're going to get more and more exposure into the lower body. Bring the hands down into your blocks or the floor and make the stance a little shorter, and then have the right leg straight. I'm going to pick the front of my right foot up off the floor. I could even put a block underneath it, right? And that's really more into the calf muscle. So if you do a lot of walking, you don't have the greatest posture in the world, most likely your weight's too far forward in the front of the feet. So this will help in exposing the calf muscle. I'm going to take my left hand on the outside of my right ankle, and I could be up really high to protect my back, especially my lower back. Take a couple deep breaths here. Breathe in, breathe out. Right, and then take the foot up off the floor and then step the left foot forward and have your feet together. Bend your knees and inhale, come up into an Utkatasana. That's an overhead position. It's a bent knee position. Arms are up overhead. Bring the weight into the heels of the feet. Fold forward into a forward fold. As you fold forward into a forward bend, step the right foot back into a long runner's lunge. Stay low in the lunge. Right? It doesn't matter if you come up. Say if you do want to come up, press through the feet, lift yourself up. Arms could be wide. So think I'm standing in front of you and I'm trying to get your ribs to move in more, right? So as I'm up in an upright position, have the left leg straight. So a lot of times for someone, I'm going to make the stance shorter just to make it more stable. But once you have good stability, I'm going to move the foot back and I'm going to bend and I'm going to get longer in stance. So it's more like the splits. Not that you have to do that, but have your hands on chairs or countertops. Very good for the back hip, right? And then as you're in this, right, I'm going to bring the hands down and then move the right foot in a bit closer and then have the left leg straight. I'm going to lift the front foot up off the floor with or without a block, right? Say you want to be active, do it without the block. Have the block, the second block on the highest level and have it on a diagonal to the hip. So you're moving yourself forward away from the back leg. So take a couple deep breaths here. Breathe in, breathe out. You know, good exposure into the hamstrings. Help you, for a lot of different forward bend options. So take the block out, bend the left knee, and then step the right foot forward, and then separate the feet, a little bit wider than the shoulders. You could hold on to these blocks. Even a little bit of extra weight can help in squatting. And then as you're squatting, it's good to sit low. It's also good to kind of sit more actively and up. So you can use both. Say you're squatting, you can, I could put a block underneath me, second level, and this is still good. Really good. It's just you don't want too much leverage into the knees if that's the case for you, right? Fold forward into a forward fold. Fold all the way forward into a forward bend. And then in a forward bend, step back into an all four position. So come down on your hands and your knees. And then when the hands are underneath you, just let the chest drop down in between the arms and then push through the hands. Really, really good for your shoulders. One of the better things you could do for your shoulders. Let the chest drop down
and then push through the hands. So it's different than cat-cowing. Not that cat-cowing is bad, but this is a lot more specific for the scapula. So let the chest drop down and then push through the hands. So if you're not really that strong in plank, side plank, I highly recommend those, some call them shoulder shrugs, scapula push-ups, another popular name for them. So lift up into a plank, reach back with the heels of the feet, and go back up into a down dog. Take a couple deep breaths here. Swing forward and through into an up dog. And then exhale back up into a down dog. So come forward into a plank, and then in plank, slowly lower all the way down. As you lower down, take the arms beside you and lift the chest, lift the feet. Think I'm pulling back on your feet so that you're lifting more and more through the upper body. And then bring yourself down. Come up into Sphinx pose. Try it with your feet together. Try it with your feet wide. Again, uncomfortable is different than pain. So it's a little bit more demanding when the feet are together, but it actually exposes, my opinion, it a little bit more specific into the hips, into the front of the body. So I'm going to come up, I'm going to stay up, right? But I'm going to keep pulling myself forward, and then I'm just going to take the elbows off the floor. So push through the hands, lift the elbows, and then lower down. So I'm doing this kind of in between Cobra and Sphinx. So lift the elbows. Try to rely not as much on your hands, if that makes sense. So lift your back more. Then bring your elbows down, right? And then just come all the way down. And then what you're going to do is put the blocks out in front of you. And we're going to mobilize the shoulder a little bit. I've done this before. I find it very, very beneficial for your shoulders and your back. I'm going to take my left arm forward. If you don't have a lot of flexibility in the shoulder, have the block on the lowest level. I'm going to have my block on the second level. Now when I'm down, I'm going to bring my head down, keep my ribs in, and then take my left arm up and then out to the side. Now wherever it gets difficult, that's when I slow it down. I'm not going to just speed through it. I'm going to work on lifting my arm more out to the side. Thumb could be up, thumb could be turning down, and then just take it back behind you and then bring it out to the side again. So think I'm pulling on your left arm. Get wider through your shoulder. So your ribs are down and your shoulder's getting more and more exposed. Bring it forward in space and then bring it down. And you might be like, wow, that's a lot. That's all I need. I'm doing them kind of slow. So maybe that's all you need. I'm going to do one more. So take the arm up. Push it out to the side. Really lift up through the arm. Broaden your shoulders, broaden your scapula. Turn the thumb down. Right? Take the arm behind you onto your back or hips. And then take it up. And then keep the ribs in. Bring it out to the side. Keep rotating through the shoulder. Now the thumb is turned up as my arm gets closer to my left shoulder. And then I'm going to lift. I'm really going to lift high through the left arm and then bring the left arm down. Then come up into Sphinx pose. Look over the left shoulder. Look over the right. At first it's very difficult, but it'll help break up the tissues in your back and you'll move so much better. You'll sit so much better, stand better. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to do the right side. So I'm just changing my angle so that I don't run into the wall that's next to me. So I'm going to come down, head and shoulders down. I'm going to lift my right arm off the floor and keep lifting like we're shaking hands. Get longer through the arm. Take it up to the side. Now when it gets to the height of the shoulder, you can start to turn the thumb down and then bringing the arm, back behind you. And this is, think of like a classic sun salutation. This is really the same motion. You're taking the arm up to the side again. You're lifting it up. Broad shoulder. Turn the thumb up. Keep getting wider through your shoulders. Keep referencing the floor. It's a lot of work, but it's well worth it. Lift the arm up and then bring it over the block, bring it down. Come up into Sphinx. Couple breaths, lift up. We're gonna go back down. So come down, lift the right arm up off the floor, take it out to the side. Keep the thumb up for a moment. Keep using your belly, your ribs. Turn the thumb down. As you take the arm out, it might be some clicking or popping in the shoulder. As long as it doesn't hurt, it's okay. Take the arm up to the side. Broad shoulders. Broad upper back. Turn the thumb up. Lift the right arm more. If you really wanted to, be more dynamic, come up onto the elbows or forearms. Sometimes I'll put ankle weights on my arms and do it. Just, a little bit of weight, nothing serious. If I had someone helping me, you could just push into the arms to help in making the rotator stronger, and that would become easier. Now take the hands underneath the shoulders again. Squeeze the legs together. Keep your belly in. Lift yourself up. I'm a big fan of filling the gap so you could have the block underneath you. But keep the legs engaged. Keep lifting yourself up. Right, come down if you want over the block. I'm going to come up one more time. Squeeze the floor with your fingertips. Lift yourself up. Lift up away from the floor. And then bring yourself back up into an all-four position. You can move the block off to the side if you're using it. Have the hands underneath the shoulders. Round through the shoulders. Tuck through the toes. Lift up into a plank. And go back up into a down dog. Go all the way back up into a down dog. Reach down through the heels of the feet. Think I'm pushing your hips back in space. So if I was standing in front of you and I was pushing into you, hips would carry back more. Swing forward and through into an up dog. And then go back up into a down dog. Carry back. Right? And then come down onto your hands and your knees. We're going to do one more thing for your shoulders. If you have a forward shoulder, the pec is probably pretty tight. Serratus can be tight as well. A number of areas, but it's usually the pec that's shortened, and that's why the shoulder sits forward in space. So use your block, and this might be too high for you, but you could use a tennis ball. I'm going to bring this isn't really the best thing, but you probably do have a block, and that's why I'm using a block, right? So I'm going to come down where my shoulder and my chest, I'm going to bring the corner of my block just on the inside of my shoulder, right? And then I'm going to move into that, right? I'm just leaning into it. This is more in giving you some awareness in what kind of tension you have in your chest, and that can limit how much you can move your arm in space or shoulder, right? And then what I'm going to do is take the block out and then just take the arm off the floor. Maybe that's a little easier, right? Take it up and then bring it down. Take it over to the right side so that the block is now on the inside of the right shoulder. So it's just a corner I like. So I'm bringing it, and you might not find that spot. You might be like, oh, why am I doing this? But most likely you're going to have some tension on the inside of the shoulder that just is nothing that you actually need. So I'm just kind of moving my ribs or my upper body into the corner of the block to adjust the shoulder. So it's like separating the right shoulder away from the left. And then you could kind of hang out here, right? Of course, I'm going to move the block out of the way. I'm just going to take the arm up off the floor. Maybe it's easier to take up. Maybe you can actually see that, or someone could see it on you, right? Bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Come up into plank. Go back up into a down dog. Right, come down on the knees. And I've done this before, but this will help with the folding of the knee, right? So I'm going to take my right shin behind my left knee. I'm just gonna sit back. So that's a good place. I'm gonna bring it forward and then I'm gonna sit back where my shin is on either my soleus or my gastrocnemius. You know, the sheath underneath the calf is the gastrocnemius. And then I'm gonna move it closer. My shin is closer to my Achilles tendon. And you know, those are 3 different points. And when I'm doing them kind of quick today, is that where you see like where it's really, really resistant or tight, that's where I'm going to spend more of my time. Because an area might not actually need it. So come back onto your hands and your knees, and then take your left shin behind your right knee. So this will really help with sitting back fully. Because I know some people don't have a full knee flexion. This will help with that. Then I'm going to sit back again. All right, now my shins, again, kind of in between the gastrocnemius and the soleus. That's a good spot. And then I'm going to bring it back a little bit further, more to the Achilles tendon. And not that this is always better for men, but this is an area, you know, especially if you're over 50, you know, your prostate is part of this. If you look in any Chinese medicine book, you'll see that that's your prostate. So come back, and then what you could do is just sit back into an area that is most needed. So again, I like exploring what the tissue is doing, and then I'll sit back in a place that's, you know, again, that I know that I need more pressure. And then come back up, and then when you come back up, tuck the toes, come back up into a plank, just to be off the knees for a little bit. Reach back to the heels, and go back up into a down dog. Go all the way back up into a down dog. Pull back through the hips. Right? And then I'm going to come forward into a plank, come up into an up dog. And then back up into a down dog. Right? And then come down onto the knees, tuck the toes, and sit back on the heels. So you're back on the heels again, possibly. Take the arms into a cactus. And take the arms down, untuck the toes, sit back on the feet. So I've said this before about tibias rotating out. This will help rotate the tibias in. It's not the only thing that you can do to help realign the bones, but it's a good thing. Like all these Virasana options are really good for that. So if I couldn't sit, or if I didn't want to do a back bend today, I just sit on my blocks, make it easier. But the more you sit in this position, the easier it gets, and the more options it is to grabbing the foot in positions, right? So I'm going to come up, I'm going to do a camel today. I'm going to be up on my toes. I'm going to move my hips forward in space. I may want to have my block on the highest level. So I might not be able to grab my foot. So I'm reaching back with my left hand. I want to keep going up with my upper body. I don't want to just reach back and grab my foot, right? Anybody can do this. You want the hips to be forward, and then as you're rotating, then maybe grabbing the block or the foot. You know, if it's lower, it's just more range, not necessarily better. So take 3 deep breaths. Your right arm could be lifting, it could be something like that. Hand could be behind the head. That's a good option. Keep lifting straight up towards the ceiling, or a bit of a twist is probably a better way to start. Bring yourself back up, and then tuck. Actually, just sit back on the feet if you can. Sit on a block if you can't sit as low as I am. Take a couple deep breaths. I'm just scraping the surface, but this could be like a 5-minute series, a 10-minute. It could be even like 20 minutes of doing just this, and that's where you're really gonna start to peel off more layers, and you'll get more in terms of your back bending. Again, I'll do some short videos that you can do in any type of clothing that can really help your back bending. So come back up onto the toes, come back up with the hips, have the block on the highest level. If you have a hard time reaching the feet, bring the tailbone down. If you don't necessarily know if you're using your bum, have your hands on your butt, feel it, reach back with the right hand. You could come up at any time, right? This is kind of, not really taught in most yoga
systems. Not that that's bad, right? But you could go back for a couple breaths and then come up. And you don't have to be in it the whole time, is what I'm, giving more people permission. If I'm reaching back, I'm grabbing the foot, or if I'm reaching back and my feet are flat, not that this is better, but there's going to be more and more leverage in your upper back. So keep going up towards the ceiling, lift yourself up. You could dig in with your toes, you could bring yourself back up, and then you could sit back on the feet. Just to kind of, counter the pose. I'm just sitting as I am. You could be in a cross-legged position as well. So come off your feet here and come into a seated position so you can sit cross-legged. As you sit cross-legged, just take the left hand to the left, reach the right hand out to the right. As your hands off to the side, I'm just kind of in this basic side bend. This is really to help counter the back bend. You can counter. I just wouldn't, I wouldn't counter so much with the forward bend. I mean, if you have really good flexibility, it works. You don't have a lot of flexibility, I wouldn't go from a deep back bend to a deep forward bend. Take the right hand behind the head. You could turn the chest towards the right arm. I'm getting lower with my left elbow, not that that's necessary, but it's more leverage. So take 2 deep breaths here. Breathe in, breathe out. Right, take the right arm out to the right, bring yourself back up, recross the legs. Take the right hand to the right side, reach the left hand to the left. Just kind of, exploring my range of motion and seeing what I need the most. If someone's taking a photograph, then I'm trying to get the line that people want to see. You can take the left hand behind the head. You could lift the chin. You could lift the chest. You're turning your upper body towards your left elbow. So take 3 deep breaths here. Breathe in. And again, maybe you're getting down to the elbow for a couple seconds, and then you're like, "Wow, I need to come up." Right? That's perfectly okay. You don't have to be like fixed and perfect, right? That's not necessarily the goal. And then take the left arm out to the left, and then bring yourself back up. And then have your legs out in front of you, but your legs are bent, your knees are bent. Have your hands underneath your shoulders. And then just push through the hands and lift through the chest and lift the hips up off the floor. So let's say you still are kind of, still kind of having the effects of your back bend. This is not nearly as deep as the camel, so that's why I like it. So push through the hands, rotate the shoulders out, elevate through the pelvis, and then what you're going to do is bring the hips down, and then just try to bring the hips a little bit more forward towards the feet. You should feel more exposure in the front of your shoulders. Right? Just bring them back for a moment, and then try to bring the hips forward towards the feet again. Right? It's a dense area, it's tight, it's difficult to stretch out. That's why I'm doing it. And then bring yourself back up, and then when you come back up, have your legs, have your feet together and have your knees wide. So have your knees into a wide position. Push your knees apart, right? As you push your knees apart, try to sit up nice and straight, nice and tall. Upright position. Take 3 deep breaths here. And then lower the hips, and then when you lower the hips, have the right hand on the right thigh. Push into the thigh. Resist the pressure of your hand. I say this all the time, be up against the wall, very good. Resist your hand and lift your leg up into the heel of your hand. I'm close to the knee, but I'm not pushing into the knee. And then bring the right hand down, and then bring the left hand on the left thigh. Push into the left thigh, resist it. As you're resisting, right, you can think that your pelvis is secure, but your hips are actually your thighs moving away, right? Your thighs moving away from the pelvis. So the ball is actually having more freedom to turn. and then you could release that. Have the hands underneath you one more time. Lift the hips up off the floor, push the knees apart. Right, a couple of deep breaths. Right, and then you're gonna bring your hips down. So a pose that I don't think I've taught yet, but I really believe in this pose. And if you're really having a hard time with your knees, just take note of what I'm doing, and then you can do it on your bed, or do it on a fluffy carpet or grass later today. So I'm gonna fold up my mat just a little bit, the corners of my mat. It's a frog pose. So my knees, the insides of my knees are on this extra padding. This mat's really great, but it's really dense, so it's not really squishy at all. I don't have a lot of tissue around my knees. I like a little extra padding. So when I'm here, I'm trying to squeeze my legs in. I'm trying to squeeze them in, and then I'm gonna push the knees and the thighs apart. So just for a couple seconds, I'm pushing out, and then I'm gonna hug in, right? And then I'm gonna push out. Just a couple deep breaths, right? And just so that we're not if you have experience, just keep doing this. Hug in, again, 3 to 5 seconds, and then push out. You can do this for a minute, 3 minutes, something like that to start. And then that'll really help with, wide angle positions. But what I'm gonna do is just give you something else, because maybe you can't sit like this. So I'm gonna come up onto my hands and knees. I'm gonna come forward, I'm gonna bring my feet together, and then I'm gonna sit back. So this variation, what I'm gonna do next is a little easier in some ways. I'll do it 2 ways. I'm gonna take my left knee up off the floor. You can see the correlation between the poses. I'm lifting the knee, strengthening the outside of the hip, and then I'm gonna bring the knee down, and then I'm gonna take the right leg up. I'm gonna do it another way, but just to give you some options. Take one more breath here, and then bring it down. So I'm gonna be on my right knee, and then I'm gonna take my left leg out to the left where it's straight. So very good if your knee can handle it, right? But I'm gonna take the left leg up, and then I'm gonna straighten the leg out. So it's out to the side, right? I'm using the outside of my hip. So if you could do half moon, this is a really basic thing that you could do a little bit throughout the week, and that'll help you get into a half moon, right? Bring the left leg down, and then take the right knee up off the floor, and then extend it out to the side. And it could be a circular motion, small or big, right? But I'm just holding it statically so that you can feel the outside of the hip. And then bring the right knee down. And then again, if being on your knees in frog pose is too much, don't do it again. But if you want to do it, that's why I have the mat like this. You could also sit like we were in Baddha Konasana, that's feet together, knees wide, right? But bring your knees on top of the mat. Have your knees as wide as your feet. So I'm going to take my knees out a little wider. Not that that's critical, but that's just a good way to kind of measure it out. And it's really very similar to the frog stance. So try to squeeze the legs in. As you squeeze in, after a couple seconds, you can push the knees apart, right? As you get lower, not that this is better, but we can get lower. But I'm gonna squeeze in again, and then push the thighs apart. And you'll feel really just a good way to knowing how to manipulate your bones with a deeper position. Because like with Warrior 2 or side angle, it's good, but it's at some point it's really not enough leverage. Big reason why I'm doing this. So to come out of this, you could come all the way forward, bring your feet together, and then bring your legs together, just to give you another option to come out, because I don't want you to get stuck or hurt, right? So come up onto your hands and your knees, right? Unfold your mat, and then as you unfold your mat, just come up on your hands and knees, go up into a down dog one last time. So lift the hips, pull back through the thighs. Should feel pretty good to have the legs straight here. Really reach down through the heels of the feet. And if you want it, swing forward and through into an up dog. And I've said this often, The more you develop your hips, the more you'll develop throughout your whole body and system. Pull back up into a down dog. And then come down onto your knees, and you can lie back on your back. If you want to do a fish, you could do fish with the blocks. You could lie back and do bridge. So just lie back on your back. As you go back on your back, not that I don't prefer Shavasana, but let's say you need more stretching, you need more exposure. That's why I always kind of shy more towards bridge and fish. Not that I don't like Shavasana, right? I truly believe in Shavasana. It's, if I'm in a Shavasana and my legs are straight, I'm still getting good circulation in the body. It's just when you're leveraging a bridge, it's just a bigger version of that. You're stretching out more of the abdomen, you're stretching out more of the upper body. When you get into this, so lie all the way down, and then lift your hips. That's good, lift them higher. Good, then bring them down. Straighten that out, yep. And then one leg could be forward and one leg could be bent. Like my left leg is forward and my right leg is bent. Just to expose my upper body more. More into my hip is really what I'm getting the effects. If I'm gonna bend the knee, stretch it forward, so now my right leg is forward, and then you can measure the tension. And then, not that I don't like both legs forward, but it can be a little bit too much for your back. So if I am gonna do that, I wouldn't initially hold it very long. So I'm happy if you hold this longer, so you're like, oh, I love this. But at some point you're like, I think I need to come out. That's a good observation to have. And then you just come out. Like any pose, when you're done with the pose, you come out and you can just keep repeating it. So if you're happy where you're at, you need to just stay here, stay. But let's say you're ready to move again. You could wiggle your fingers, you could swallow a couple times, you could move your toes. And then I'm gonna roll over onto my right side, and then you can use your hands and you can bring yourself back up and you can come into a seated position. So as I'm in a seated position, I wanna squeeze my legs together and sit nice and tall and upright and get myself into a nice position. I could turn my palms up. I could bring my hands together if I needed to or wanted to. I hope you had a great class. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for all the support. I love it. We appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you soon in class. Again, I won't be teaching this class until the fall, but all my classes are on my YouTube channel. So subscribe and you'll get all the notifications when we're uploading classes and we're uploading short videos to help you more with your practice. Send me comments and questions and I'd love to help you more. And have a beautiful day. Hopefully we'll be in touch with you soon. All right. Namaste.